Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today's match preview for the preview show. It's one for the game tomorrow against Bayer Leverkusen, our second game in the Europa League group stages. A game which I'm going to be completely honest about, I'm nervous for. I really am nervous. I'm quite scared at the prospect of what could happen in this game. Celtic's recent form and Celtic's injury crisis dictates that Bayer Leverkusen should be heavy favourites coming to Celtic Park, but it's our first home game at the group stages at Celtic Park. Of course, it's at Celtic Park, that's why it's a home game. And, you know, we could surprise them. I'm hopeful of it. Well, we'll talk about it in this video. Before we go any further with the video, please make sure to check out the top line of the description if you want to get involved with the OneFootball app. OneFootball will give you everything you need to know in regards to the Europa League this season and the game tomorrow against Bayer Leverkusen. Live match updates, live scores from all around the Europa League and every other league, including the Scottish Premiership, all in the one place. It really is the best app, and by using my link in the top line of the description, you're helping both me and the channel sponsor out, so please make sure to check that. Right then, Bayer Leverkusen come to Celtic Park tomorrow night, a game in which I've already said I'm incredibly nervous for, against a side of top quality amongst form for Celtic, which has been slightly concerning, if we're all going to be honest about it. I love a European night at Celtic Park. It's easily my favourite nights at Celtic. You know, the atmosphere, the thought of playing, the quality of opposition, the chance of a big result. I love this time of year when it comes around more playing in the group stages of these competitions. This year, though, going into it, we've not left ourselves in a great position in regards to how we look as a team at the moment. That's not so much our fault in regards to the injury crisis and the fitness crisis, but we have got a team of what's at legs, as it seems, at Celtic Park. A lovely quote I seen on Twitter earlier. You know, we are really struggling to keep a fit team at the moment, and we seem to see players dropping off with injury every 5 minutes. And playing against opposition like Bayer Leverkusen, you're not leaving yourself in a promising position. That's the annoying thing. I want to go into these games optimistic all the time. If you've been following me for the last sort of 5 years on this platform, I've went into games against PSG, Bayern Munich, Barcelona going, you know what, I think we could get a result tonight. But suddenly, over the past sort of 18 months, my tone towards these games has flipped 180 degrees. And with the way we look at the moment, and you look at the team we can field against a very rampant Leverkusen, you're thinking to yourself, Christ, it'll be a miracle if we get something tomorrow. We need to get something. That's the reality of it. You know, we started off with a loss. We need to get something at Celtic Park to get us on our way. If we lose tomorrow, we're in a kind of fighting position where we need to try and rally points quickly. I would like us to get the comforting sort of result tomorrow to leave us in a position where we can challenge in this group. But as I've already said, Leverkusen aren't exactly the easiest of opposition. You know, our opening Europa League game wasn't the worst. We lost the game, we collapsed, and that ultimately became the story of the game. 4-3 against Betis, so if you offered me that before the kickoff, I would have snatched at it, because honestly that was another game which I went into, and this could work in this regard to this game as well. I went into that game thinking, oh, we're going to get battered tonight, because we were in a position where we had to field players we normally wouldn't field, we had to pull players out of position. It ultimately wasn't an ideal situation, so maybe tomorrow the same thing happens. We up our game a notch and we get a result that's surprising to everybody, and especially at home, maybe we have that little bit more momentum to carry us over the line in the trickier parts of the game. But one thing that stood out from that Betis game, and the thing that will always stand out, is that collapse. We were up 2-0 away from home in Europe, and that suddenly opens your eyes up and you're like, okay, maybe we're not as bad as I thought. But then in the space of 5 minutes, the concentration goes, everything collapses, suddenly it's 2-2, then they're in the lead, and you've threw everything you've worked hard towards away. That is something we need to focus on tomorrow night. We can't allow our concentration to slip for a moment against a team who I've seen a few times now this season. I've watched the highlights of, I've been trying to keep up with as I listen to my Bundesliga podcasts. And, you know, this is a team will take advantage of those moments to an even greater extent than what Real Betis did. We have to be switched on from start to finish. But what Ange Postecoglou has to do, and what this group of players that field the park tomorrow have to do, is they have to be able to adapt to the game. The game will be far more open, as we know. It's not going to be like playing Dundee United at Celtic Park. It's not going to be like playing Dundee or St Mirren or any other team in the Scottish Premiership at Celtic Park. This is Bayer Leverkusen. It's a very solid side. The game will be open because they'll want to play football. They're very much about scoring goals at the moment as well. I think they've scored something like 13 goals in their last 4 or 5 games. They are 6 games, I think it might be. They're scoring goals as well. This is a team who want to score. The middle of the park is where a lot of the action is going to happen. And right now, I look at this midfield and look at it as a midfield that could be overrun tomorrow. We need to be able to adapt to this game. And if the pressure is on, or if we have a lead, we need to be able to switch to a point where we can be comfortable as a team to play together. Not to the point where we're conceding 2 goals in 5 minutes. That's where the manager comes in, and the game has to change. We can't just sit there in the same sort of system for 90 minutes. We need to adapt as the game moves and changes as well, and as Leverkusen change. I feel like we've been so guilty, and we've seen it against Livingston, we've seen it against Betis, and we've seen it most recently against Dundee United. We've been so guilty of just going with the same thing and hoping for the best. There hasn't necessarily been a plan B thus far. And I know for a fact that Ange Postecoglou will have a plan B, but I just don't feel like he has the tools for it just now. But he needs to be able to adapt in this big game tomorrow night, because it's a team that can deal some serious damage to us. Let's talk about the squad, and let's talk about those tools that Ange currently lacks at Celtic to do what he probably can do. We've been very downbeat the past couple of weeks because of poor results, but ultimately, you look at our squad at the moment and you look at the situation. I said on Twitter at the weekend, if I was Ange, I'd be hanging up the jumper and walking down the tunnel during that Dundee United game, just watching as every player drops to the floor carrying another injury. I don't know how it's happening. It's a serious problem at Celtic. It's a problem that needs addressed. But you look at the squad just now, and you look at the options that he has to turn to in the bench, there's not much Ange can genuinely do to change things at the moment. As much as I'm ranting on about adapting and changing as the game goes, yeah, we have to do that against the likes of Leverkusen, but I do understand the difficulty of that. When you're looking to the bench, you've got B-team players and centre-backs. That's it. That's defenders and B-team players. That's all he's got in the bench to work with. Now we've had news come through, just to look over here and clarify it. Juranovic will be out. Callum McGregor, yes, he's back in training, will still be out. However, the same with Kyogo, back in training, he'll still be out. McCarthy will be fit. Roll of the eyes, God help us. That is not an ideal situation. Juranovic, McGregor, Kyogo, all still out for this massive, massive game. You're still missing your captain at the end of the day. That's huge too. It's a situation that it doesn't fill you with hope going this game, and that's why I'm so kind of downbeat about thinking about playing Leverkusen tomorrow, because we've got such a lack of depth there and a lack of options. It makes life difficult to try and bring the game to Leverkusen and change when we need to. You add those names to the list of players who are already out. You've got Greg Taylor, who's already out as well. You've got injuries just everywhere. Just every name, something. Julien still out. These guys we know we're missing. It just does not help. So let's talk about the opposition then, and one that I've been very excited to talk about since we drew them in the group stage draw a few weeks ago by Leverkusen. They are absolutely flying at the moment. A brilliant start to a new life with a new manager, Gerardo Sione. They have just been flying. They're second right now in the Bundesliga, only 3 points behind the very dominant Bayern Munich. They're scoring goals for fun. They're going through a transition period that hasn't seemed like a transition period. They've just took it, run with it. And everybody they come across so far has struggled against them, and that includes the only team who's beat them this season, Borussia Dortmund, who beat them in 4-3 in a very enthralling game. But it's the only loss that Leverkusen have suffered thus far. A very good start. And yeah, they won their opening Europa League group stage game as well against Ferencváros. Yes, Ferencváros done very well, challenging them in that game. We need to see that from Celtic. But it's Leverkusen's side. They've won 5 of their last 6 games, just to throw up that team form on screen. 5 out of their last 6 games in all competitions, which has included wins against the likes of Borussia Mönchengladbach, as we've already touched on there in Ferencváros. Most recently, a 1-0 win against Mainz as well. They head into this game with momentum on their side, with positivity in their team, which is very, very different from the kind of atmosphere that has been at Celtic the last couple of weeks, because we've lost and we've drawn and we've just not been great. We've won 2 of our last 7, I believe. They've won 5 of their last 6. So, it's very different camps at the moment, and it annoys me when it comes to this, but I'm hoping that Celtic can be the team to spoil their party. I done a kind of in-depth look at their squad and them as a team when I done that video a couple of weeks ago, exploring every team in the group, talking about our European ambition. But the guy we need to look out for tomorrow, Florian Wirtz, he is on fire at the moment. One of Europe's top wonder kids, and right now he's probably one of the most in-form attacking midfielders, creative midfielders in the whole of Europe, scoring again at the weekend against Mainz. They are just loving life with him. He is the sort of respawn of Kai Havertz in a way. And in a sense, I feel like he's more dangerous than Kai Havertz the way he's been playing, honestly. Already been looked at by some of Europe's top clubs at the age of 18. He will have so much fun if we do not deal with him properly tomorrow at Celtic Park. Keep an eye on him. You'll be entertained if he's allowed to entertain. But the thought of like James McCarthy or Ismaila Soro or Carl Starfelt chasing him gives me genuine nightmares. Stick to him like glue if possible, man. Just don't give him the space. Don't give him the time of day. It's going to be so difficult. It's just the thought of McCarthy, if he starts, which I think he will, and we'll come on to that. The thought of McCarthy starting against him tomorrow is roll of the eyes stuff. Because with what I've seen from McCarthy so far, I don't think he has the match sharpness or the quickness around his game to deal with the likes of Florian Wirtz. And that is a scary, scary thought. Right, you away?
McCarthy's pish.
McCarthy is pish, aye. Right, see you later. So the team and score predictions then. Let's move on to that final part of the preview show. For a preview, I'm telling you, can sense the nerves in me. I'm hoping and praying that Celtic give us a night to remember tomorrow. Ultimately, that's all I want. I want to be leaving Celtic Park with one of those famous European results. One of those results we'll be buzzing about for a long time. That's what you live for at the end of the day. I don't feel like we're going to get it. The team I think will play tomorrow then. Joe Hart I think will be in goals, of course. Ralston, Carter Vickers, Starfelt and Montgomery as the back four. There has been talk from a lot of fans about Scales coming in. I don't think he'll give Scales the start in a game of this magnitude. If he does, fair play. I feel like he's only played about 25 minutes for Celtic, I think. So to bring him in here when Montgomery's played a kind of handful of games already at that role, I think wouldn't make much sense. So I'm going to go for Montgomery at the left back. McCarthy and Rogic and Turnbull. That's that's where we lose the game in my eyes. That middle three, that's where we lose it. Rogic and Turnbull want to do the same thing. They want to hold the ball. They want to shoot. They want to be that attacking number 10 sort of player. McCarthy, who's just like a dead guy at the moment in the middle of the park, literally the Undertaker, just standing there doing nothing. I just feel like that's going to get so overrun by the three that Leverkusen have on their side. The work rate, the pace of the game, I think it's going to be too much for all three of them. That worries me. I'm hoping that I'm proven wrong, but that's the three I think we need to go with tomorrow. There's not much else we can do. Soro will be sent off tomorrow if he starts, I reckon. He's just too reckless. So I think that'll be the three that play. And then the front three, Abada, Ayeti and Jota, we don't really have any other options either. Ayeti needs to provide us with a big performance tomorrow to try and get some people back on his side. Look, he scored against Betis and he got us a penalty against Betis. He looked really, really good. That was a European game. Can he do the same tomorrow night? I fucking hope so. But we'll just have to wait and see. So that's my team prediction. 3 changes from the side that started in Seville. I'm looking forward to see what happens after that point, though, after the team is announced. And my score prediction, well, I don't do it very often. I don't. As much as I get a lot of comments nowadays saying the most negative Celtic fan out. No fucking wonder. Sometimes I can't help it. I'm just real. I don't sugarcoat things. I don't want to chat nonsense. I'm not going to pretend I'm happy with when we get beat or when we draw. But I don't do this very often. I'm going to predict a loss for Celtic. I don't think we'll win tomorrow night. I'm hoping it's not an absolute battering. I'm hoping it's not a 3-4-0 to Bayer Leverkusen. But I just don't see us winning the game. I think Leverkusen are too good. I've been watching what they're doing in the Bundesliga and I just watch them and go, how do we beat that? We can't beat fucking Dundee United. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go for 2-1 to Leverkusen to try and sound at least a tad optimistic. But give us a fucking result, Celtic. Come on, do something. Like and subscribe. See y'all next time.